A screaming man is dragged through ankle-deep water while villagers carry burning lanterns behind him. Nobody explains why his wrists are nailed to a wooden frame before a cloth mask covers his face. The man wakes tied upright beside rows of open graves. Someone whispers that outsiders always arrive during the wrong season. Far away, a journalist ignores repeated phone calls while editing footage late at night. A photograph of the missing man keeps appearing on her screen after she deletes it. Her editor demands a harmless agricultural story, but she secretly prints files about tourists disappearing across remote mountain regions. Every victim vanished near the same unnamed forest. She visits the missing man's mother and notices every family photograph has the son's face scratched away. The old woman refuses to explain who damaged them. Inside the missing man's room, she discovers maps marked with circles around abandoned villages. One page contains only a warning repeated dozens of times: do not follow the fog. A final journal entry describes bells ringing underground beneath a hidden village. The sentence ends abruptly mid-word as if interrupted. That night, she dreams of a faceless crowd standing silently outside her apartment building. One figure points toward the forest before collapsing backward into darkness. The next morning, she convinces her photographer partner to travel with her using the promise of exclusive images. He agrees only after learning nobody officially searched the region. A younger assistant joins the trip despite warnings from co-workers. Before leaving, she jokes that cursed villages only exist in documentaries. Hours into the drive, road signs disappear completely. Their GPS begins rerouting them in circles through empty farmland. They finally reach a mountain settlement where every window is boarded shut despite smoke rising from chimneys. Nobody responds when they knock on doors. A blonde local woman quietly warns them not to remain after sunset. Before she can explain further, a scarred villager pulls her away violently. The group notices thick black fog hanging unnaturally still beyond the trees. Even the wind bends around it without disturbing the surface. The photographer tries capturing images of the fog, but every photograph develops completely blank. The camera battery drains within seconds. Ignoring warnings, the assistant steps directly into the fog and disappears without sound. Her flashlight vanishes before the beam fades. The journalist rushes after her and hears distant chanting beneath the ground. Shapes begin moving between the trees although nothing touches the branches. Deep inside the fog stands a massive stone figure covered in wet cracks. Dark liquid slowly drips from its closed eyes. The assistant suddenly reappears behind her, trembling uncontrollably and refusing to speak. Blood drips from her nose although she claims nothing touched her. As they retreat toward the village, dozens of lanterns ignite across the hills around them. The villagers have already formed a silent circle blocking the road out. The scarred villager orders them to leave before midnight or die inside the valley. Nobody in the crowd blinks while he speaks. The journalist demands answers about the missing travelers. The villagers immediately extinguish their lanterns and walk away without another word. Back inside their vehicle, the assistant quietly scratches symbols into the fogged window glass. She claims she does not remember drawing them. The photographer discovers their tires slashed open with rusted farming blades. Fresh footprints circle the vehicle but stop abruptly beside the forest. A church bell suddenly rings beneath the ground instead of above them. The sound vibrates through the dirt under their feet. The blonde local woman secretly approaches them carrying stolen keys to an abandoned storage building. She whispers that sunrise changes everything in the village. Inside the warehouse, they find walls covered with names carved into old wood. Several match the identities of missing tourists from different countries. The assistant hears whispering from beneath loose floorboards. When the boards are removed, cold air rushes upward from a hidden tunnel. They descend underground and discover stacked coffins sealed with iron chains. Every coffin lid bears deep claw marks from the inside. One coffin suddenly shifts as if something inside rolls against the wood. The assistant backs away while muffled breathing echoes through the chamber. The journalist forces open a damaged coffin and finds a skeleton fused to a metal mask. Spikes extend inward through the skull. The photographer recognizes a tattoo matching the missing traveler from the journal. Dirt still clings to the corpse's clothing as if buried recently. A hidden door slams shut behind them. Lantern light floods the chamber as villagers appear above the stairwell carrying ropes and hooks. The photographer smashes through weakened boards beside the tunnel wall. The group crawls through collapsing dirt while villagers stab tools through the gaps behind them. They emerge beside the forest only to see dozens of villagers already waiting silently among the trees. Nobody chases them immediately. The assistant suddenly screams after seeing human faces moving beneath the fog itself. The others see nothing until the fog briefly pulses toward them. They flee toward the warehouse while bells begin ringing from underground again. Every villager slowly follows instead of running. Inside the building, the journalist notices the assistant's eyes briefly turning completely black before returning to normal. The assistant denies anything happened. Heavy chains tighten around the warehouse doors from outside. Someone begins hammering nails directly through the wooden walls. The blonde local woman appears through a narrow gap and reveals the villagers are not trying to trap them inside. They are trying to keep something else out. A violent impact shakes the warehouse roof hard enough to crack support beams. Dust rains down while something heavy drags itself overhead. The assistant begins speaking in a different voice while staring at the floorboards. She describes graves beneath the village that nobody told her about. The photographer demands answers from the blonde local woman. She admits every outsider who sees the statue eventually kills someone before sunrise. Before anyone responds, claws tear through the ceiling and seize the assistant by the shoulders. She disappears upward into darkness screaming. The journalist climbs after her and reaches the rooftop covered in muddy footprints. The assistant stands perfectly still near the edge facing the forest.